gotta sit down and you'll disappear, John.
Back something from Washington.
Oh, yay.
It's just kind of silly. I went to a restaurant called.
Oh, I love that. That's so cute. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
You are welcome.
St. Mary? Did I see you over at the physical therapy today? By chance?
No, that's my sister.
Oh, okay.
No, not me.
I still get the two of you confused sometimes.
Why?
What's iWorks? Public Works?
It's a system, a computer system they use for community development.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. How's it going over? How's it going with the stuff over there?
Good. The magician just showed up. Brought over a bunch of kids. How's the kids over there? Yeah.
It's in minor over there because they weren't home.
Did they have fun last night?
They loved it. The guy was doing the snakes and stuff and had a tarantula.
God.
He was holding it and he had a fake one
Vandalism.
and he went and threw it at the kids.
Or the
He did the same thing with a snake.
Oh my God.
Threw a fake snake at him. They were just so thrilled.
Thursday is the movie.
Thursdays movies. Okay, okay. Well, I could probably swing over here.
Be positive about it. Absolutely.
Before we started here.
Oh,
That's the one right there.
we're all losing. And the shadow, there's.
How you doing, John?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I see they're doing all the cracks. Yeah.
All right. Oh, we're live.
We're alive. If you got minutes afterwards, that'd be great.
Has Robin seen this?
How long should?
No. She wants nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay.
Deposit vouchers, we don't do
She
anything
wants-
with, right?
Don't either.
Randy?
Want to take
These
it on.
deposit vouchers, we don't do anything with?
And she wants,
I just initial,
what she
just put
wants.
your initial.
something totally different.
Every other week though, ours will be in there. Once a month, ours will be in there, so I
Not
never
opposed to it.
initial my own. I let
Just not
somebody
know
else
how,
do it.
just
Gotcha.
Or is out of town this week?
And we had water for you.
Oh, we got a quorum at least.
There was nothing on the agenda, right?
Minutes, approval of minutes.
oh,
Wow, it's gonna get, I'm sorry.
And press the button on the, there's a button on the mic too. Gotta push and hold it.
Oh yeah, a little secret, you can, in case you ever need to, not have anybody talk to you.
And everyone told me she was this sweet.
Sometimes it works.
Senior, that sweet old horse. She had the biggest catitude that I ever saw in my life.
Say catitude? Did he just say catitude?
Would probably, because he's got a cat with attitude. I know that.
I do too. I call him something else though.
It's not fun watching that deteriorate. No, there's nothing you can do about it. She's old when she died.
Name for a cat. And I thought, oh.
He's had some ill-timed jokes and comments around me in the past too. I was like, oh, gay.
That's what he said. You know, what's the comeback to that? I said, oh, okay.
Nothing.
Hi there. The fair shenanigans start tomorrow, right, with the Brixton?
Look at that little thing I brought in. She's already at it.
Old was black.
I said, you're gonna have to come sit down for a little bit.
I spent 21 because he had cancer.
Hey, the magician's over at the library.
But
It's
Do
good.
you want to go see the magician?
She's like, that's a long way to walk.
In her dirty boots.
He was originally a cameraman for a big movie star, Big Cat Rescue. And now he's done a lot of.
Mayor, I haven't seen you in some time.
I know, I never miss a meeting, I miss two in
They
a row.
look at you. Yeah.
Put Dusty to work.
He's now a senior cat.
I know, I was like, man, I better make this meeting. I literally missed, I think, one meeting in the last 2 years before that.
Yard one day and they call them Walton's Golden Balls. come out
Oh, what, is she being punished or what?
No, we were doing fair stuff and we have to continue to do fair stuff, so
Oh, this will be the most exciting day of your life.
ever. Like she don't even, she's in her phone. She don't care about anything. No, she'll never come back for me, so
Yeah. Does towns
there.
vacation roll over?
like just
or-
wait.
It's a good question, because if it does, we need to address it at some point, because Wiedemeyer had 800 hours.
I just noticed one of them.
Nani, you
was
want a
like
piece of candy?
250 or something like that.
Candy?
Is,
I mean,
what
it's
is
not
the,
like
is there
unheard of.
a top limit to vacation time you can have?
Yeah, it's in our policies and
The
procedures.
300?
It's based on years of service.
What is it, 300? Like, you can't have any more than?
No, I want to say it's like 240.
Or a certain amount rolls over
Yeah,
or something.
and that's dependent on your years of service. I can get you guys that info tomorrow,
Mahafe.
Well, nada mucho. How are you doing?
whenever you are, Randy.
Some of these guys take a vacation.
Okay. All right, so we will call this meeting to order of the Parker Town Council. Please silence your electronic devices. We'll call the work session to order. Roll call of council.
Mayor Hartless.
Here.
Vice Mayor Waddell.
Here.
Councilmember Shantz.
Here.
Councilmember Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember De Leon.
Here.
Councilmember Grenwald.
Here.
And Councilmember Junk.
Oh, you rascal. Didn't know you were on there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, for the purpose of the meeting is, the work session is just a discussion. And we're removing item C, the fee schedule needs to be looked at some more. So we're gonna talk about item A and B. Item A is animal control. Nora or Amy, who's taking this one?
I will. So you tasked me several months ago to look into an animal control officer, what the kind of benefits were going to be, what it would cost the town for animal control, and also to look at the animal shelter as a whole. So I kind of took some steps, giving it a lot of thought. Several of you were very much wanting that animal control person. Others were not on that same page for various reasons. Right now, the town, I kind of came up with a sort of a plan. If you decide that you would like to do a animal control officer, I have worked kind of around some other things as well. Animal control used to be under the police department for many, many years. That's kind of where it fell. 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I guess, when I started, Ms. Wiedemeyer decided that it would fit better under community development. Not exactly sure why, but it was fine. We took that and kind of ran with it. When Carl left, our animal control officer left to go to work for the shelter, we took a step back and we spoke with then Mike, who was the director over there, and also Mr. Drake, who was the county administrator at the time. And that's where the contract that you have in front of you, well, not the one that you have in front of you, but the one that we drafted this one off of came about. So the county was going to be responsible for housing all the animals and also doing our animal control. Our portion of that was going to be to basically pay the bills for that and keep the building up, those kinds of things. It worked for a minute. It worked. We still have that. You guys just passed an agreement about 10 months ago to kind of continue that. The shelter is going downhill. I'm just going to be real honest with you here. There's some issues over there. We've noticed we've gotten less and less animal control in town services. We have a lot more dogs at large. We're having more animal bites. We're having more really some serious concerns. And now that has traveled back to the animal shelter as well, and they are actually having some issues at the animal shelter themselves. There was a pretty big incident, not this weekend, but the weekend prior at the animal shelter, which is giving me some heartburn. Not that it was anything that any of our people could have done, but our name is on that building. And so if things aren't being done appropriately, then it's time for the town. My feeling is it's time for the town to step in. But one step at a time, animal control. We have a position at the police department that is admin, part-time, and part-time evidence. We have another position which is completely admin. We feel that we could shift some of those duties from admin evidence over to the admin person, not to overwhelm that person. They would still be okay and be able to use the person that is evidence as animal control as well, because animal control is not going to be a full-time position. I can't afford a full-time position at this moment. Budget season, we can look at that. But right this minute, we just can't as a town afford a full-time animal control. So that part-time, and then evidence has always been part-time. Some days you're really, really busy with the evidence. Some days you have nothing. So it just kind of ebbs and flows there. But I think that would really fit nicely in there. It would be about the same pay as what the person is doing now. We would probably bump it a bit because animal control is definitely more specialized than admin would be. So I would like to bump that a bit. And that's kind of my idea as to where to go right now, and then we can discuss maybe at some point actually taking that the animal shelter and doing some other things over there with it. We were blessed to be able to take a tour through WAS up in Havasu, an amazing facility. A lot of great ideas came from there. And some ideas on how to actually fund a shelter where it doesn't make you money, but it doesn't cost you any money. And that's what you want. You're not out to make a lot of money, but you definitely would like to cover your costs. A lot of great ideas came from that visit as to how to do that. I also have talked to the person that is in charge of an estate who has graciously left some money to the animals. That is about ready to be dispersed. I'm going to say within the next probably 2 to 3 weeks, it should be dispersed. How that is going to be dispersed, we're not quite sure yet. There's a couple of different options on how that gets dispersed. And that's totally up to the person in charge as to how that happens. But saying that, it is gonna go to do something at the shelter. Whether it be remodel, whether it be, rebuild, flatten and build again, probably the best idea, but, not, we don't know yet. First things first is we do need to get a set of plans going and drawn for that, so we can go out and get donations, for those, for that building, because what they're going, the monies that they're going to, put into that are probably not going to cover what that shelter actually needs. It's been neglected for a long time. Steve's done the best that he can do. His crew is great. It's just old and ready for a little Band-Aid or so. I did get a report from Carl, who is the director over there. He's saying that Parker has taken in about 89 dogs and 81 cats over the last year. That number is a little troubling to me. I do know that if an animal is surrendered, most of the time those numbers go to Parker. So if a dog comes in, is left on the doorstep, that's a Parker dog. If that dog happens to be pregnant and has 9 puppies, those puppies are charged to Parker. So
Those 80-plus dogs, those are from the entire county or from Parker?
from Parker, from 1 square mile.
How does that compare to the county? Do we have
Because they're
those
dropping off
numbers?
their dogs here as well, right?
So the number that they have for La Paz, this is why it's kind of not making a lot of sense to me. The number they have for La Paz County is 123 dogs and 40 cats. Quartzsite was 75 with 19 cats. I'm sure Quartzsite gets a lot, well, not a lot, but I'm sure they get a few off of the main freeway coming through.
There's a good percentage of people who go there and don't leave also.
So, are those numbers true numbers? I don't know. They're as good as the person that put them in, but I do know that it's been said, well, some of them are crit dogs. To me, and this is how I look at this, if it's within the town of Parker, it's a Parker dog. I don't, unless you do a blood test on it, I don't know how you're going to tell whether it's a crit dog or a town dog. It's a town dog. So with that being said, I mean, it may be that high. Again, only as good as the numbers can,
Well, it sounds high, but when you said 89 dogs,
89 dogs.
it's like a dog every 10 days. I mean, that's not like you're overwhelmed with dogs if you break it down.
Correct. And you're counting puppies that, dogs that come in and then they have the puppies and all of that. And I know that we have had, in the past few months, several litters of puppies dropped off in the middle of the night.
I have a question about the money that you had mentioned, and I don't know if this is understood yet or can be shared, but you said it goes to the animals. So how is that like legally defined? Because, I mean, Town of Parker has ownership in that situation, and the county does as well. So is it going to be, divided up or vested a certain way?
So, well, we don't know that exactly yet.
Yeah, the
I do,
what do they call it? The executor of the,
Executor.
executor of the,
will or whatever.
Executor better.
They have a really a lot of leeway, I think.
yes, they do.
Knowing the man's real intent was not to spend the money on things not related directly to the
Correct.
care and the keeping of the animals over there. So I think they'll have a voice in that a lot.
They will have a big voice in that. So, and that's one of the reasons that her and I have been in contact quite frequently. especially in the last couple of months, because we're getting really close to that being done, where she can actually decide how the money is spent and where it is spent at.
I just want to clarify, my math was terrible on that. It's a dog every 4 days, not every 10 days, so. So right now, we don't pay any staff over there.
No, we do not.
The county pays for a full-time animal control. One,
One animal control, one, I believe, one director and a couple of part-time,
Oh.
2 part-time people.
there's like 4 people.
To kennel
Part-time.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go up, yeah, and say your name, just so,
Yeah,
like Zaffer is on the line, he can hear.
Hello, Robin Schilling, and I'm with the Animal Relief Fund. 2 full-time animal control officers, 1 full-time kennel tech / office manager, and then 3 part-time heads to just clean.
Okay.
So 3 people, 20 hours a week.
It's a lot more than I thought, but the issue we're having, or that we've talked about, is the fact that the county, the animal control people are busy in other areas far away.
correct.
And so that's why we're talking about having a person here, or even part-time. So one of my first questions would be, what about a vehicle, right? You have to have a vehicle to be in animal control.
Correct.
Pick them up and put them in a cage. and-
So, we think we can, Chief and I've kind of talked about that as well. We think we have used Public Works.
Retrofit something up.
Correct. I know that when we had Carl previous, we still have, I believe, most of his equipment. There are a few things that we'll have to pick up. But I think we're pretty set on what we can.
And then, I guess that answered my question, the last question I wrote was, will the county be responsible? Will they now say, if we get a part-timer, they'll say, we have nothing to do with Parker, you guys handle it? Or they'll still assist when they're in the neighborhood?
They had wanted us to match for a full-time, I thought.
No, they ask us to do our own animal control and do a half-time or a part-time kennel
Oh, okay.
person.
So a position and a half.
So I think doing this part-time animal control is really going to be in our best interest. What we pay at the shelter, as far as right now, all the utilities and all of the maintenance on that, I think is, pretty well covers our cost as far as a part-time kennel person.
So with you're talking about an evidence tech / animal control. We already have that evidence tech, right?
Correct.
Is that person the right person to be that / animal control? Are they interested? Are they?
That person would have the first opportunity
Okay.
to.
It takes a special person, really.
It does.
And
That-
we've seen what happens when you don't have a special person in that role, I think.
We have experienced that.
Yeah. I think we're still experiencing it, but, okay, that was my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so will he be working after hours? How does this work? Only 8 to 5?
We haven't done the exact details on this, but my idea would be that, yes, he would be on call. Now, there are going to be some weekends and some nights that he's not going to want to be on call or not. I mean, we're going to have to rotate that out, and then that's when Chief's going to have to make that big decision as which one of his officers is going to take that call.
Are the county people on that kind of night call?
Yes, they are.
Because I agree, if you do 8 to 5, the dog network's gonna be like, hey, go out after 5.
Oh, that-
If
Nobody
they're
will
doing
bother.
evidence, I would think they could flex hours or something.
They could.
The next shift or something to.
So I can tell you
Balance it
just in
out.
my experience, 20 years of being here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. When we had Larry, when he was the animal control and also code enforcement, and even when Carl was here a limited time, I really can't think of very many times where they were called out after hours. I mean, we're talking a severe case. If there's a wreck, a fatality, there's animals involved that we have to take and house them. Typically, if that's the case, if there's something where we'd have to, after hours, the officer in the past has taken the animals to the shelter, because we all have keys, we have access to the shelter. Unless we find a puppy mill, or we find some horrible conditions where there's multiple animals that would have to have animal control. And even then, we'd call the county, because we could only transport so many, they could transport so many, and kind of help with that. But I can't think of really any time where there was numerous times of being called out after hours or weekends or whatnot.
What do we do? So say it was me, I definitely would love to do evidence and I would hate to do animal control. If he says not interested at all, what happens with his position currently?
The current position will be going away.
So, and I don't know if I came in late, I apologize. Right now, we have Mark and Ashla. Asha does a lot of duties that Mark doesn't do, and Mark does a few duties that Asha doesn't do. 50% of their stuff overlaps, they're backups for each other. I know you probably already talked about this too. Sorry.
Person one and person two.
Yes, but no, I mean, I don't want to say we need to cut a position here, because there's a lot of things that Asha does on her end, like with Spillman reporting, with NIBRS, FBI, with other agencies that she works with. And then Mark does a lot of the citations and the courts and the records, but they're interchangeable. One's a backup for the other. There is a function of Mark's job that he is doing that takes up a decent amount of time that is actually fixing to be automated between tracks, our electronic tickets, and all of our crash forms through the state. They'll be automated through Spillman. So that will free up some time with him. If we were to shift a lot of the things that is either double duty between the two of them, or a few things here that Ashley can handle, then she's able to handle that workload.
So this is something you would want to implement pretty soon, and then later we can talk about if we want to do a full-time or something next budget year. Okay.
Is Mark interested in this position?
I'm able to talk to him today about this. It just kind of came, he left early for.
And we shouldn't really be naming names here.
Right. Yeah, and whoever, I would just say to keep this as a consideration, whoever you do approach with that. We've been talking about dogs because that's kind of primarily, I think, the focus, but we've also approved some new livestock ordinances and stuff in town. So how would that position fall into the policing of that ordinance? You know, I see that being a benefit.
Yes.
Because we hadn't really talked, that wasn't an option during the discussion of approving that
Yeah, I
ordinance.
assume that
so-
would fall under this.
It would fall under the animal control. Right
That
now,
is a lot more of an 8 to 5 thing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, when you go talk to people.
right now it falls under code enforcement. So we would extract that from code enforcement and put it under animal control as part of.
And the fair's about over, I mean, in a week, so.
But we still have, the fair is almost, so most of those animals are gonna go away. But we still have some in town with the new ordinance that we passed. We'll still have a few of those livestock in town, so that would definitely be a portion of this animal control. And we do have cats, believe it or not. We have a lot of cats in town. Unfortunately, most of them get trapped. At least we hope they do, get their shots and then get fixed, and thank you to ARF, and get re-released. But, yeah, we do have a big cat problem in town right
The
now.
difference is cats don't chase little children and attack people and,
Well,
you know,
they
terrorize
don't
people.
chase them, but they do
Right.
terrorize them,
To some extent, but
Yes.
not like the
Right.
dogs, you know, so.
but correct.
So this agreement,
So this is the agreement that you guys looked at several months ago, and I just have it here just
so
for.
is this new or changed?
It's the
Okay.
same one that we had, that you guys looked at before. I would like to rework this. These do have the changes in here that you guys kind of suggested. But again, I would like to rework this so that it shows that we are doing the animal control portion of this, if you guys so choose to do that. There's a couple of other steps that are gonna have to happen before you guys make the final decision. And this can actually be put on the agenda. So, talking with Christina, we're gonna have to come up with a job description. I'm gonna leave that kind of up to HR and Chief to kind of come up with that. And then I'll approve that, and then it's gonna have to go to you guys, for you guys to look at, to make sure that that's what you really want. And then we'll come back and, speak with the employees and see where we want to go with that. I do plan on I did talk to one of the employees today that this will affect. I plan on talking to the other one, hopefully tomorrow, if they're in the building. I wanted to do that prior to this meeting, but, again, I was unaware that they were gonna be out of the building. So that's kind of where we're at with the whole
Any
thing.
specialized training or anything?
We can give them some training. I would suggest that they get send them to some training,
And Vienna
without a doubt.
sausage.
Mm.
Doug Taft, who used to be animal control, said that was his greatest thing.
Uh-huh.
Hands of Vienna
Best
sausage.
thing?
Every dog would cooperate fully with the Vienna sausage, so. And I asked the question earlier if Robin had looked this over, and I don't even know if you want to get into this level. But I want to respect what you guys do, because you guys do a lot over there, and it's important. If we didn't have ARF and the volunteers and stuff, I don't know what kind of situation we'd be in, so.
Horrible.
I would love to hear anything you have to say about this specifically.
No, I mean, it's a change, it's exciting.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
There's nothing in here that,
help over there, so we could
Okay.
use some help.
okay, that was my point, okay.
But can I say something about the training?
Absolutely.
Okay, so your animal control officers, we have a NACA, it's called National Animal Care and Control Association, and we have a chapter in Arizona. And there is training because we have to do euthanasia, okay? And they have to be certified by the state vet. We have to do rabies. They have to be certified by the state vet. And then there's all kinds of other training that NACA can give your officer. Catching dogs, using a catch pole, things
Yeah,
like
that
that.
should be part of the job description, probably, that. they would
Absolutely.
Participate in that training.
Some of that training is free and some of it you have to you have to pay for.
And it's actually, you go to get
Yeah,
that
like
training.
conference, yeah.
But euthanasia is a big one. So if you have somebody that doesn't want to euthanize, that, you need to have that conversation with them.
It's a huge deal.
Thanks, Robin. Oh, all right, any other comments, questions?
I know it's needed.
concerns?
Saw on social media, people complaining about a cat getting stretched in half right down by my street the other day, and some little kids
And
watched it.
some kids
and
watched it. It was
freaking out
horrific.
and-
Yeah,
Oh, by a dog.
By a dog, two dogs.
Huh,
2 dogs did
I
it.
did see that, yeah. Yeah,
They're going crazy out there.
Kind of crazy out there.
So with us taking more of the responsibility and the costs, is the county gonna reimburse
need a
or
work session with him.
provide any additional services since we're basically taking on more work in a sense?
No, not at this time. Now, at some point, that will become a conversation that we have.
and
with the county.
they do provide, I mean,
Provide-
there is a list of things here.
Right, so right now, for the town, they provide housing for the animals, they do all of the, euthanasia, they do all of the care of the dog once it gets to the shelter.
I mean, my suggestion would be, if we're taking some costs away from them in a sense, or allowing them to focus on other areas, this would be a good time if we have any other specific asks for the county to see if we can
So,
get any additional things with that, because it is, in a sense, reducing
Yeah, you're not wrong on that.
responsibility.
Yeah.
you're
They're
right.
still paying for those 2 other officers, right? Is that
Yes.
who's paying for the 2 other officers?
But if they're not focusing on this part of the county very
One square
much,
mile and there, the rest.
Rest is them. So,
I mean, we're, what we said, 80 compared to, very minimal of the other portions of the county. So we're the majority of their work right now, in a sense, according to whatever
according
numbers
to
that
the
they're giving.
numbers,
So right now, we're taking on that responsibility. So what are we asking? It's basically, we're reducing their workload, their costs, their everything, so they could focus on other parts. It just seems like a good opportunity for us to,
so our IGA bridge will be up next month. So that's our perfect opportunity at that time to decide what we want to do with the county.
Next month or the fiscal year?
I believe the IGA is up in March, towards the end of March. I might be a little bit wrong on that, but I know it's coming up soon because
Who would
we did that bridge,
2024.
Who at the county
the bridge.
would do the negotiating on that? Would it be
Stephanie?
Stephanie? or-
Stephanie and I would sit down and have that conversation and come up with some kind of a plan. I would bring
Good
it to
point,
you
though.
guys.
Good, solid point. you're
Yes.
making.
I would bring it to you guys, she would bring it to her supervisors, and then from there, we either do or don't.
Maybe we need a
We
work
negotiate.
session with the county on this. I mean, this is a high dollar endeavor for both of us.
I mean, to my point, it doesn't necessarily even have to be in this indirect, where we can say that we're willing to take on this if they're willing to help us in whatever other particular area that we may have thoughts on. So,
So I have a point to make here. Of the numbers that they provide you, of the 89 animals, how many of that was what they brought in, and how many of that was what our officers brought in throughout the year as well, too?
We can't.
So that's another thing,
Distinguish
because we do take animals to the shelter. They're counting numbers based off of a slip that the employees, whether it's their employees or our officers, fill out. The other thing, too, is you're talking about providing a service to the town. I can tell you right now that that is very minimal. In fact, I called today. There was 3 dogs running around,
That's why
actually,
we're,
by your
that's why
house.
we're doing this, right?
So I wouldn't say that they're in town a lot.
Yeah.
They're hardly ever in town. We've had cases where they are, hey, can you guys handle it for us? We're not coming out for it, whether they can't, won't, whatever it is. So that's the problem is I was called. My officer responded to there was actually 2 cat attacks over the weekend where they were both killed. One was over here, one was over on 16th Street that we are dealing with as well, too.
Yeah, when you see the priority list, there's like priority 4, 72 hours. I mean, it's kind of useless at that point.
Yeah.
From a public safety
Yeah.
standpoint.
So
So yeah, I mean, overall, it does seem minimal shifting of costs. So we're basically just reallocating so I mean, it seems very doable from the financial aspect of it. But if we're, in a sense, taking away that, I'm sure what we're going to be saying, 80-some with dogs and 80-some or 70-some with cats portion of what we're doing with that, taking away the responsibility of what's being reported by the county with that, we should use that just in that negotiation factors, just if that's being what's
Absolutely.
reported. But it does seem minimal actual true difference of cost, so it does seem reasonable from a cost perspective, since you are shifting the just duties assigned
Duties
with that.
assigned.
So it does seem reasonable, just use it to your advantage.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thanks, everybody. We'll move on to item B, social media policy. Nora,
Me, you're up.
Amy?
Pass this off to Councilmember Woodell.
Sure. So we had met on during the last work session on the social media policy, and I had mentioned kind of how it clumped a few things that should be separate items into one. So I had drafted a policy that, in my professional opinion, is more or less ready to go, with the exception of inserting some specifics. But what it does is it breaks down a specific social media policy. So this would be for the use of the town's social media, which just gives you guidance on the direction of it, who manages it, things like that, content guidelines, and engagement guidelines. So all of these things that they're kind of standard in most of these types of
So this
policies.
document you'd created?
Right.
Oh, nicely done. I had no idea.
Yeah, and a lot of the bullet points on there are kind of required if you're going to have a social media policy. So there's not a lot on there that's fluff. It's just very basic, important stuff. And then it breaks down an actual media policy, because a social media policy and a media policy are two different things. Social media policy being how you use social media, and then the media policy being how you interact with the media. So the media policy outlines who the designated town spokesperson is, how the town responds to media inquiries, how we provide public information to the media, and then media access to public meetings and records. So things that already exist, it's just not outlined as an actual policy. Then most policies I've been involved with have especially like this, have a specific policy review period, because media is kind of a fluid beast, I guess, and so is social media. They evolve, and often annually, so it's good to be able to like go back and look at a policy and make revisions if needed. And then there's a separate town and park. This is just kind of a supplement to these policies. It's not necessarily a policy, but it's a style brand, or a style guide for the brand. So a little bit of this was mixed in with that first version of the social media policy, but this kind of, it's a little bit more cut and clear in terms of like what our mission statement is. I inserted that in there, the vision statement. So these are things that already exist. What the town's core values are, the town's target audience, the brand's personality. So these are all really important when it comes to some of the questions like Amy was talking about in deciding what kind of content the town's going to put out. Because you go back, does it meet the town's mission statement? Does it meet the town's vision statement? Does it meet our core values? Does it reach our target audience? Is it in line with our brand personality? Check, check, check. Ready to go, you know? And then town's logo usage, things like that, typically somewhere on file, and this is probably the case here, I'm not sure, but you have your hero copy of like your logos. You have a brand guide that has like your Pantone colors for like our seal, things like that. That way, if somebody were to reproduce your image, you can say, nope, it's mine because those are my colors, that's my design. See, it's right here in our style guide. The typography, so determining what kind of fonts are going to be used, and that's usually just limited to fonts that aren't against like ADA policies, so no graffiti, stuff like that. Limits for the imagery. So this would be like an example of the type of imagery you would use, how you would use it, the application, so how we apply these style guides. So for example, website, print materials, signage, official documents, email communication, staff uniforms. And that's pretty much it. So if there's any questions or anything, I'd be happy to.
I'm impressed, man. This is good.
I've had to put together a couple of these in the past, so it was kind of like, it's not new territory.
Has we run this by the legal team? We
No, it
should.
hasn't.
I mean,
One of the things, talking about the right to remove comments, so I would look at that specifically. I think with that in particular, what I thought I heard at some point, they even suggest basically not removing basically almost anything. But Christina's.
yeah, there was a case actually with Gosar, and this crazy lady from Kingman, where they banned her from their Facebook page, and she sued them, and she won. But I don't think she was doing any of the things offensive, abusive. She was just disagreeing with them, and they didn't like it,
No,
basically.
I think that there's even particular cases where even if it's like spam type content with that, where things that you would think would be obvious, like, yeah, obviously remove it,
Right.
does have certain implication. I'm not fully sure how.
There's
defer
this
to
section in
Christina.
here for engagement guidelines that
That's what I was looking at.
kind of lays it out. I mean, because it's kind of hard to dictate like what it's not really black and white, you know, it takes some discretion from who's managing it to decide like if something's out of line or not. So without a set of guidelines like this, it's leaving it up to somebody's kind of whim to make that decision.
This would be a good part to have the lawyers look at and make sure we're legal. But
Right, so it's just encouraging respectful dialogue and feedback.
Right.
Comments and messages will be monitored regularly. Town reserves the right to remove comments that are, and then these bullet points, you know, offensive, obscene, irrelevant, or spam.
All these, I think, look pretty common sense, stuff that we would all pretty much agree with. It's just
Right.
making sure.
make sure it's legal.
It's
legal
actually,
and-
yeah,
And if they're with that, I think pretty much all this makes a lot of sense.
Sure,
I think
and
everybody with that.
it really helps the person administering the account too, because if they do remove something and somebody says, why? Well, it didn't meet A, B, and C, or, you know, it fell under one of these guidelines, and they have something to fall back on, so to speak, versus just, you know, thinking it was the right thing to do.
So the other question I had is respond to media with that. So no comment should be used sparingly, all inquiries. And I'm not sure how often inquiries come with that, but within an X amount of time frame. Yes, that's ideal, but sometimes there are like no comments or
Right.
portions with that.
Personnel
wouldn't-
item, stuff
yeah.
like that.
And maybe that can be stated, say, you know, it's a
Like an
personnel
official
item.
response.
Yeah, personnel item, not allowed to discuss it outside of whatever, instead of no comment. No comment, I guess, does imply, you know, a certain narrative with that, but. So I don't also want to pigeonhole certain
Right.
individuals there as well.
Yeah, it's a little tough because we don't have a, like a designated public information officer, right?
Correct.
So,
Town manager.
yeah,
Yeah.
Or how about like critical incidents, police department, chief has
yeah.
the ability to do that and do PIO then.
But I think this is good overall stuff to use.
Yeah, good guidance. I would just be scared to pigeonhole, like the town manager, a little bit too much into that. Again, I think it's best for the communication of the public with that, so there is
Right.
good with that, but it's just, the other side of it is just worrying about being too strict on things.
Yeah. I think individual departments generally, in other larger municipalities or governments, designate like a spokesperson for their department. Like I know probably department heads for us would be that person, I'm assuming.
Amy does most of our stuff, and she's been really good at doing for the entire town. Now, the police department does have their own kind of Facebook that they do.
No, this wouldn't
Oh.
be for social media. This would
Okay.
be like for media inquiries or outside. Say a reporter comes in and says, hey, I heard something was going on with a so-and-so employee. What's your response? You know, and how do you respond to that? And who do you refer
But
them to in
they
that
would-
situation?
My department heads would definitely just send them my direction. They're really good about, and if I'm not in the building, again, they typically go to
Right.
Amy, so.
And I know that, at least with the hospital, we do have that similar thing where instead of the department managers, we do designate our public information officer, myself, the CEO with that as the public information that is the one to relay information to the media if ever media has those requests. So I'd imagine similar in this case where
Right.
you would want to direct the department managers to direct it to yourself or another individual you designate as the public information officer, which I think that's basically what this
Right.
outlines with that.
Yeah, I threw it together because I was brainstorming. I think I had called Nora the day after the last work session and mentioned a whole bunch of things that I should have probably mentioned during the work session. And so if that's helpful, if everybody's cool with it, I think it would,
It's great.
it would.
Yeah, I think if Nora can go through and fill in some of the blanks,
Right, there's some information in
and
there.
then run it by Christina to make sure we're all legal. Yeah, I think it's real nicely done, man. Really, really, really well done. Yeah. All right, any other comments on this discussion item? No action?
You said we wiped off the fee schedule.
Yeah, we're gonna table that one for some more input from the department heads and stuff. So we'll adjourn this work session and call the regular meeting to order. Roll call of council.
Mayor Hartless.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odell.
Here.
Councilmember Shantz. Here. Councilmember Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember De Leon.
Here.
Councilmember Grunwald.
Here.
Councilmember Jank.
Present.
All right, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. John, would you be willing to do that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One of these days, I'm just gonna say, God help us. Heavenly Father, we come before you humbly this evening. We ask that you would send your blessings on the Parker Town Council as they discuss the issues facing our community. Grant them wisdom and grant them the courage to do what is best for all the residents of this community and the surrounding area. We ask that everything we say and do here may be pleasing in your sight. Amen.
Okay, no call to the public, I'm guessing. Chamber Directors Report. Erica will remove her hat and put on her other hat.
I was like, where's she going?
It's time to go already.
Leaving. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Erica Daniels, the Director for the Parker Regional Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. We're really excited as Monday, March 3rd, we opened up our books for the Parker Tube Float. We already have 300 entries.
Wow.
Yes, by 4 o'clock yesterday. So we're really excited about that. And then this week is the La Paz County Fair. We are actually going to be out there manning our booth and giving out a survey. So if you stop by the exhibit hall, please stop by our booth and take our survey to tell us what we can do better. I already know we do a good job, though. This weekend is also the Rio Mesa Ranch sorting and the ARF poker run at Sundance. Crit DHS does have some food demo classes. Those are taking place next on Wednesday, March 12th. And then we have the Moonshot Rural Arizona Pitch Competition, which Corey Matinetsky is leading here in town on Thursday, March 13th, and the St. Patrick's Poker Run on Saturday, March 15th. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, our consent agenda has 2 items, Town of Parker minutes from the 12th of February, 2025, and minutes from the 18th of February, 2025. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes for both February 12th and February 18th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no items for discussion and action. Do we have any liaison reports?
I went to the last Streets and Traffic Committee meeting, and they did their annual tour of the town streets and stuff. They drove
Really?
around and kind of got to look at things, and Steve kind of gave a guided tour on what's been done and what is going to be happening. And everybody got a chance to voice their concerns, which didn't really seem like there was many, but.
Cool. Okay, anybody else? Any updates?
I went to the Friends of the Library meeting. They're doing a couple different, they're looking at trying to get a Pepsi donation grant to donate some Gatorades. All right. Approved, so definitely exciting. One of the big things they're trying to work on is getting a new building over there that was, had a $5,000 donation from IDA with that. So they're looking at trying to get that here soon. Just needs, I guess, some measurements and get the approval from building portion with that. So they're looking to get that up and going here pretty soon. They're working at trying to have a book sale, a rummage sale, and doing their raffle on the 14th and 15th. And they just approved $300 of donations for the library for various requested books. And I think those are the top items.
The other thing I had for Parker Senior Center is that the advisory board will be meeting tomorrow at 4:30 in the afternoon, unless that's changed. But
Hopefully, we'll have a joint venture meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay, announcements, Wednesday, the 5th, tomorrow. The advisory board, Ray just mentioned. Paws County Fair. County Fair, March 6th through 8th. March 10th, Monday, Library Advisory Board. Tuesday, the 11th, Park and Recs Board. And then Tuesday, March 18th, next regular council meeting. This meeting's adjourned.
quick and easy.
Probably
Dude, I like that shirt.
Friday or
I
Saturday.
have a blue and white one, but I like just that. I gotta get one.
Chamber and get a ticket.
Budget to buy
I mean,
stuff
they
like
don't,
that.
They don't hook you up with all the
Oh,
duds,
I
the
got
cool
12
duds.
different shirts, but I don't have that one.
We do. We won't be there tomorrow morning. We'll be
Whenever I
there
go
tomorrow
down there, they always have
Yeah,
some
it's
sort of
set up
cool stuff to give away.
But we'll be there
My
tomorrow.
daughter just went down to the
I haven't seen
one
him
in
come in,
Yuma
but
with
that
the
doesn't mean he could
town
have come when I
search
was on.
Really? She in town search, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, I was in
Advertising for the
down
fair.
in Yuma.
Invite
Oh, hi there.
Barry Holloway
Kid
was the
who
guy back
goes
then.
to the
I
college
think
has
it's
a
Jamie Silva and
Yes.
Shayla. I'm
chance
pretty
of
sure.
actually going to
Well, I
college.
haven't heard anything.
I believe it.
about the fair
And you didn't read my face.
Even this
For the
weekend.
chamber, if they want to come in, we have